sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
Rounds again.
That's still not bad.
Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be another First Impressions video. In today's First Impressions video, we are taking a look at the brand new Resilient Suppressors Simple Man. And before we get this video started, as always, I wanted to give a huge shout out to this video's sponsor, which is, of course, Seal One. Seal One makes a wide variety of firearms cleaning and maintenance supplies. It is bio-based and non-toxic, and it also smells incredible. I have been using Seal One for years and years and years, long before these ads ever even were a thought, and I love it very much. It comes in a variety of flavors from liquid to paste and also sub-zero temperature Seal One, and they have a variety of other maintenance supplies as well for bows and other things like that, and now Seal One is even offering a cleaning kit, which is pretty awesome. On top of all of those things, you can now get this stuff at an incredibly low price because they are giving you 25% off. Just put FF-25. That's FF-25 to save yourself 25% off of your order. Finally, I am putting out my video on the Resilient Simple Man. I have had this suppressor now for a few months, and I have just been trying to freaking put out this review. There were a few reasons why there was a holdup on putting out the review for this suppressor. Of course, I had some family stuff going on, but then I also had a slight gripe about this suppressor that we'll talk about later in the review. But as you can see, this thing has been through the ringer so far. I have been shooting the crap out of this suppressor in comparison to the Jolene, which is essentially the one-to-one of this suppressor, but it is the titanium variation that Resilient is putting out. The titanium was obviously a little bit lighter, but even though the overall volume was almost the exact same, what was surprising to me is the tone and overall sound quality and sound reduction out of the Simple Man was significantly different and better than the Jolene, at least in my opinion. Now, I'm gonna have the video, full video coming out on the Jolene in the future. The Jolene was not rated for high rates of fire, if you get what I'm saying for YouTube talk. The Simple Man is 100% rated for any type of firing schedule that you wanted to put through it. As you could imagine, because of that, this is a welded steel suppressor, so it is slightly heavier than the Jolene. Obviously, Jolene being titanium, it is going to add a little bit of a weight increase with steel, but I really don't mind that. I would compare this to the weight of really any other duty 30 cal suppressor that is out there on the market. And again, I was really happy with the overall increase in sound quality out of the Simple Man. Now, there is a slight difference. You'll notice a lip coming up here on the end of the Simple Man, and that is not as present on the Jolene. But as far as the front portion of the suppressor, it is identical in every way. But this is Resilient's basically affordable option for the market that is going to provide more durability, so more of a hard use suppressor. My first gripe, and really my only gripe that I found about the suppressor, and one of the contributing factors as to why it took so long to put out this review, was the fact that the thread pitch in the back is the industry standard hub thread pitch, which is essentially the 1.375 by whatever. And that is really exciting about a suppressor. In order to get the suppressor as compact as it needed to be, the blast baffle is too close to the threads to use pretty much 90% of the Bravo or hub compatible adapters that are out there on the market. When I wanted to put on my tried and true ASR device, you have a lot of standoff here, but even with the standoff and putting that on the back of the suppressor, any device that I tried was just button into the blast baffle. Now, I did not have a ASR single port brake to try that out on. I believe the single port brake would also work just fine. But in talking to Resilient, they essentially spec'd that out for Rearden. And I do think that's a little bit of a tough device to spec a suppressor out to from the get. And the only reason why I say that is all of the Rearden devices are incredibly tiny. Now, if you want to kind of put a suppressor out there just for Rearden, that also makes sense to me, but I would probably almost just weld in a taper mount to the suppressor to only accept Rearden, because you're gonna, I think personally, run into probably warranty issues or other things with people trying to shove hub mounts in here and them not fitting, not locking on all the way, and cans flying off or whatever. I could be completely off on that. That's just, again, my opinion. I tried not only the ASR mount, but a variety of other hub mounts, and same deal. All of them were getting a little bit stuck there and would not go all the way into the full locking position. Is that the end of the world with the suppressor? No, absolutely not. Another point, and a final point about that, is also any of the JMac compatible muzzle devices that I have on my AKs, the RRD 360s. Also, even though they're very, very short, still did not fit in this suppressor. If you're using Rearden devices, you're gonna have absolutely no problem at all. Or if you're direct threading the suppressor, as I did on every gun in this video, that also will not lend to any issues whatsoever. As far as the heat performance of the suppressor, it handled heat mitigation just fine. I didn't really feel that it was cooking super quick or taking super long to cool down. A steel suppressor is always going to have a little bit more cooldown time than a titanium suppressor. On the opposite end of that coin, it's also going to have a slower time heating up and getting too hot to the point that you can't use it. Of course, the most impressive caliber that I shot through this was 300 Blackout Subsonic, and that performed, as you would imagine, incredibly well. But what I think a notable thing was in shooting 300 Blackout is even supersonic hot 150 grain hunting 300 Blackout out of a 7.5 inch barrel still sounded incredibly well. I had barely any ringing out of my right ear with no hearing protection on and shooting that. And again, out of a 7.5 inch barrel, that is beyond impressive, and it's really going to begin to kind of push the limits of what this suppressor is capable of with that barrel length. And the performance on 5.56 was excellent. In fact, the overall sound quality, you guys know I use my tried and true old crunchy Omega as kind of the gold standard of just all around good sounding suppressor. This Simple Man really did mirror the Omega, and really it mirrored it a lot in overall size and weight as well. But sound quality, it was exactly on par, and I think in that department, Resilient knocked it out of the park. And really, that is the most important department to have with a suppressor. This did get approved in about a week for me, so Form 4 times are still down. I really think it depends on the luck of the draw of when you submit your form and how you submit your form. You're seeing times coming in anywhere from like 16 hours to a month. It really depends on, again, who you are, when you submit, and the luck of the draw and how you submit. But in this case, this took about 6 days for me to finally get the approval, and of course that is much better than months and months and months, as everything was just a short little while ago. And I absolutely love the look of the Resilient rifle cans so far. They have a very minimal, just rugged design to their aesthetics of their suppressor that I think you can't go wrong on. Too many times these days with 3D printed stuff all over the place, you know, we want a cool, just vibing out can with weld marks on it and looking good, rugged, and like a tool. Suppressors get used, especially in my collection, Cerakote, frays off, and all that good stuff, and that's just the reality of rifle suppressors especially. I love a utilitarian looking suppressor. That is kind of the style that I go with. I've not been able to test flash mitigation yet, but we do have these kind of like reverse tongs coming down, almost like a reverse flash hider, and I'm not sure exactly if that is for flash or some other type of gas mitigation, but I would imagine that works pretty well. Hopefully soon I can start shooting again at night here and actually testing flash to the fullest extent. But there is your front cap, which is non-removable. It's kind of like a cone type shape. And again, it just adds to the overall look of the suppressor. I think this is a great looking can. And really, that is going to wrap up my review of the Simple Man suppressor. This is, of course, the first review. I do plan on expanding this once I get reared in devices to many other calibers to hear how it sounds across the board. Until then, I hope you enjoyed how it sounded on all of the 5.56 and 300 blackout guns that I shot it on. If you guys have any other questions about this suppressor or anything else on the channel, please feel free to throw them down below in the comment section, and you guys know I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description for the ways to support the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more great videos coming soon.